My name is Ryan Dedwitz. I know you probably don't care. I just think it's polite for a stranger to introduce himself before telling a story. I have a son named Devin, nicest kid you'll ever meet, and he's always got a smile on his face. His mom died in a car crash a few years back. Poor kid. He's about 9 years old, at the age where he's always full of energy. He's always playing with the kids across the street. It's fun to watch, to be honest. Reminds me of when I was a kid. I never had to spank him or yell at him. He always comes inside when I tell him to. He always cleans up his toys. Not gonna lie, life's been pretty hard lately. Money's been tight and it's getting harder to pay for electricity and plumbing. Once, Devin offered me all the money in his piggy bank to help pay for it all. Sweet kid. Well, yesterday I found something pretty weird that I thought I would share. Something weird is definitely going on here, and if anyone has any answers or suggestions, I'm open. So it started this morning. Woke up and started to do my normal morning routine. I got up, I went to the kitchen to make breakfast for me and Devin. It's almost the same thing every day. Oatmeal and coffee for me, and toast and eggs for Devin. I called Devin over and told him breakfast was ready, but after about a minute, he didn't come. I started to walk towards his room to see if he was there, drawing. It was his favorite hobby. But as I was walking there, I saw him coming out of his room. "Hey buddy," I said with a smile. "Hi Dad," he said, sleep in his voice. "Did you just wake up?" I asked him. "You still sound kinda tired." "Yeah, I slept in today," he said. I noticed he looked sort of pale. "Well, your eggs and toast are at the table," I said as I walked to my own chair. He looked at his chair for a moment, as if contemplating whether he should sit down or not, then walked over and plopped into it. We sat through breakfast without saying a word. After he finished eating, he got up, walked to his bedroom, and shut his door. I thought this was very odd for a few reasons. First of all, he didn't bring his plate up to the sink, which he always did when he was done eating. Second, after breakfast, he always got dressed, brushed his teeth, and went outside to play with his friends. But then I recalled how pale he had been when he got up. Maybe he's just sick, I thought to myself. I shrugged and brought his plate up to the sink for him, then went to my room to read a book. It was a few hours later until it was time for lunch. I hadn't seen Devin for the entirety of that day, except for breakfast. I just decided that he was sick and he was just taking it easy for today. I decided to leave him alone about it. Once it was time for lunch, I put my book down and went to make some sandwiches for me and Devin. But before I did, I decided to stop by his room and check in on him to make sure he was okay. I gave a slight knock on his door, then pushed it open. The lights in his room were off, save for his bedside lamp. He was sitting on his bed with his back turned to me. He was staring at the wall in complete silence and was staying completely still. I called his name, and he jumped slightly, as if startled. He then turned around. He was even more pale than before. "Are you okay?" I asked him. "Yeah, I'm okay," he said. His voice seemed shakier than usual. I flicked on the light switch, and light flooded the room. The first thing I noticed were several pieces of paper strewn about the floor. Devin had a small supply of paper in his closet that he used to draw, which he liked to do a lot. His other drawings of superheroes and houses were covering his walls. There was a lot of paper on the ground, much of it blank, but the papers that were drawn on were quite unsettling. Most of them had scrawled on them with only 2 words in red crayon: "Not me." But before I could fully process this, I noticed the piece of paper that was on top of the pile, the one that disturbed me the most. On it was a stickman-like figure, just like the kind of thing Devin would draw. It was very tall, with long limbs, and its face had a large red smile on it. The eyes were made with blue crayon, and they were 2 wide circles on the ovular head. Underneath the figure, written in red crayon, were the words, "He's gone." Devin, why did you draw these? Devin looked at the drawings on the ground, then back at me. I don't know, he said with a dismissive shrug. He got up and walked past me to the kitchen, even though I hadn't said it was time for lunch yet. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what I had seen. I decided that I would look at the drawings more closely later and went to make sandwiches. Devin was sitting on his chair, and he watched me intently while I was making lunch, never breaking his gaze. If I'm being completely honest, it was a little creepy. There was something in his eyes that I couldn't quite place. I gave him his sandwich and he started eating it. Are you sure you're okay, buddy? I asked him again while he was eating. Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Why are you so worried? It's just, you seem kind of pale. And what's with those weird drawings in your room? Everything's fine, Dad, he replied. His voice was so monotone, not like the normal energy-filled voice that I normally used. May I be excused? He asked. Sure, I stammered. He got up and started walking to his room. Do you want to go play with your friends? I asked. He stopped and turned around. No thanks, Dad. I'm not really feeling it today, he said. And with that, he walked into his room and closed the door. It was then that I was convinced that something was amiss. Devin never turned down playing with his friends unless there was something wrong. I decided that I would listen close to the door to see if there was any sound coming from his room. I know you're probably gonna say it's wrong to spy on your kid like that, but I could definitely tell something was up, and I just wanted to make sure he was okay. So after I finished my sandwich, I went to his door and placed my ear on the wood. I listened in and heard something faint. A mumbling. It was much too quiet to make out what the voice was saying, but then I noticed 2 voices talking over each other. One of them was clearly Devin's voice, while the other one was a whisper. Just a whisper that my ears could barely pick up. This broke me. I burst the door open and looked inside. Devin was sitting in his room with the lights off, alone. No apparent source to the whisper I had heard. There was no one else in the room. Who are you just talking to? I asked urgently. He stared at me for a second. Again, there was something in his eyes that I couldn't quite catch. Something strange. No one, Daddy, he said innocently. But I heard... My words were cut off when I noticed some pages on the ground that were blank before were now filled with red color. I noticed that on these pages, in small red writing, were the words, "It's not me," over and over on them. I looked back at my son. Something had changed. His eyes, they were glowing blue. And I don't just mean it was a bright, vibrant blue. I mean, they were glowing. Devin's eyes were always green. His eyes locked on mine. His skin was paler than ever before. He said something then. Something that gives me chills thinking about it. His eyes seemed to glow brighter while he said, "He's with me." His voice was deep and somehow echoed in the small room. He then opened his mouth in an unnaturally long smile, and a long, thin, black tongue snaked out from between his teeth. This snapped me off my trance. I slammed the door shut. I heard a deep scream from inside the room and the bed creaking. I ran to my room and slammed the door shut, just in time to see the door to my son's room burst open violently. I locked the door and blocked it with my body. I felt something heavy, bigger than my son, bash into the door, threatening to rip it off its hinges. I grabbed my bedside table and pressed it against the door, barricading it, just in time to block another hit to the door. I'm trapped in my room right now. I can't go out the door, obviously, and the window is 2 stories up. I've tried calling 911, but there's no service. No matter what I do, I can't communicate with any of my friends or family. I've been hearing my son's voice on the other side of the door. He's begging me to let him in, that it's really him, and that the thing's gone. I don't believe him. Whatever that thing out there is, it's not my son. My son is gone. I'm recording this, and I'd better be quick and upload it. My battery's about to die, and the hits on the door are getting worse. I just saw a crack in the wood of the door. Anyone, please, tell me what to do. I don't know how this demon got into our home, but I do know that it took my son, and it wants to take me as well. Oh no, there's another crack at the door now. Hey everyone, hi. I just wanted to say super quickly, I am kind of a starting out YouTuber. I made 2 videos I think a month back, a while ago, and they didn't really gain a lot of traction, so I just decided to kind of start over with this one a while later. If you could hit the like button and subscribe to me to be notified of all my future videos that I may make, and hit the bell, turn on all notifications, so that you can hear more original, self-written, scary stories. Sorry if this story wasn't that good. It was one I wrote a while back, but I just thought I'd bring it up. So anyways, just expect more from me soon, and have a nice day. Bye.